The GOP was handed wins on a silver platter. No, platinum platter.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
But leave it to the GOP to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
What the fuck?
How the GOP screwed its own.
You're fired.
I'm Jasper Gonzo, and this is What's Next. Hey, what's up, everyone? Jasper Gonzo here, another episode of What's Next, your daily dose. Happy Monday afternoon. Well, in my last video, I talked about the situation regarding Kari Lake versus Katie Hobbs and how that cluster continues to go on. 95,000 votes still are being counted as we speak. But sadly, that wasn't the only race that took place Tuesday night. You had a number of congressional and senatorial candidates who were running, who thought they had a chance, a better than chance of winning, especially when it came to the Republicans. And of course, they all got screwed. Wow. Who screwed them? It wasn't the Democrats. Yes, it was your friendly neighborhood GOP and Mitch McConnell and those ass clowns in the swamp. We're going to go to this one first. This comes out of Breitbart. AP calls Washington race for Democrat Marie Perez over Republican Joe Kent. The Associated Press and other media outlets called the U.S. House race for Washington's 3rd congressional district, for Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp Perez over Republican Joe Kent Sunday morning with 70% of the vote in. Perez on Sunday was ahead by just about 4,600 votes when the Seattle Times reported that there was an estimate 15,000 votes or fewer remaining. So technically, Joe Kemp is still in the race, but leave it to the media to call it for the left. While Perez declared herself the winner, Kent said he would not concede with ballots left uncounted, encourage voters to make sure that their ballots were counted. According to Kent, about 6,000 ballots need to be cured. Quote, what the media says is relevant. It's another narrative designed to stop voters from ballot curing and force me to concede. Not going to happen. We're on the streets, ballot curing. The fight goes on while the talking heads talk. Power dry, and check your ballot. Ken tweeted on Sunday morning. What the media says is relevant. It's another narrative. Make sure you check and double check. New York Times had Kent, an Army Special Forces veteran, America First candidate, favored to win by 98%. So that's from the New York Times. They had Kent winning in a blowout, basically. A win by Perez would flip the Democrats in the district and had voted Republican for more than a decade. The Republicans owned it for a decade, and now here comes a Democrat, just saunters in and takes the win. Perez led on election night, but Kent had steadily closing the gap. Perez claimed the race was a bellwether for the direction of the country and accused Kent of giving voice to, quote, some of the darkest impulse of our politics. While Perez attempted to brand Kent as an extremist, the auto body shop Perez owned with her husband offered free support to Antifa rioters in Washington, reported by Breitbart. Surprised? No. We go from that to somebody else also who got screwed in this. And of course, this was midterm results. Republican Maya Flores defeated in South Texas House race. After a hard-fought campaign, Representative Vicente Gonzalez bested Representative Maya Flores following the rise of the GOP star's upset victory in a special election in June in a historically Democratic stronghold in South Texas. The first time a Republican won that district in over 100 years. Flores' June victory in Texas' 34th congressional district have fueled Republican dreams of making inroads with Latino voters. Her general election contest with Gonzalez, a different contender than the one she faced in that special election race, was seen as a test of whether that upset was a fluke. In a Twitter post after the decision was announced, Flores took aim at Republican voters. The red wave did not happen, she wrote. Republicans and independents stayed home. Do not complain about the results if you did not do your part. Facts. Quote, they feel entitled to our vote, making the same promises over and over again, really not making nothing happen, Flores proclaimed on Sunday morning's Futures with Maria Bartiromo after her special election victory. Republican groups had opened the campaign spigot for her general election contest in hopes of duplicating her victory. Redistricting had rendered the 34th district a deeper shade of blue and Gonzalez's current 15th district less favorable to Democrats, prompting her decision to make the switch. Flores had vied against Democratic challenger Dan Sanchez in a special election race to replace Representative Filemon Vela, who had held the seat since 2013 and resigned earlier this year. Gonzalez declined to participate in the contest, sending Democrats scrambling and creating an opening for Flores. We go from that to this. Fox News. Trump blasts Maricopa County after Arizona Senator Mark Kelly defeats Blake Masters. Quote, do election over again. Trump specifically mentioned Maricopa County, where votes are still being counted days after the polls had closed. Former President Donald Trump made unfounded claims of quote-unquote voter fraud in Maricopa County after Republican Blake Masters, his endorsed senatorial candidate in Arizona, lost to Democratic Senator Mark Kelly. The race was called late Friday evening. In a lengthy post on Truth Social, Trump claimed that the result was a scam and could be attributed to the quote voter fraud that is acting forces that quote unquote stole the election, which he said should be held again. Quote, people were forced to wait for hours, then got exhausted, had other things to do, left the voting lines by the thousands in Maricopa County, he claimed. Which, if you listen to Carrie Lake, Blake Masters, and others in Arizona, yeah, turns out to be facts. The former president said that even Republican gubernatorial candidate Carrie Lake, who was running against Democratic Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs, was affected by the delays. Even Carrie Lake was taken to a liberal Democrat district court in order to vote. Others weren't so lucky, Trump wrote. He added, this is a scam, voter fraud, no different than stuffing the ballot boxes. They stole the election from Blake Masters. Do election over again. Kelly remained ahead of Masters about 115,000 votes for most of Friday afternoon. As mail-in ballots continue to be tabulated by Maricopa County, Fox News decision desk projected that Kelly won re-election in Arizona shortly after 10 p.m. on Friday. Now, the reason why I did these three stories is because you see where I'm going with this. You see the trend where I'm going here. Now, in the beginning, I said, and how the GOP screwed them. Well, the GOP, for example, screwed Blake Masters over by taking millions away from his campaign and sending it to Alaska for Murkowski, or what's-her-face, to hold on to that seat. Murkowski was done. She was done after this. She was done before this election was started. But no, leave it to Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy and Eye Patch McCain and the other goons and the swamp to make sure she stays around for another term. While you had someone like Blake Masters, who in all intents and purposes, had that money been poured into his campaign, would have had a decent, if not great shot at winning it, because more word would have gotten out about him. Same goes with Joe Kent. Joe Kent had the opportunity to win. When you are picked by the New York Times to blow your opponent out by 98% and you quote unquote lose, and the GOP is nowhere to be found, where was Mitch McConnell after Kent was declared the loser? Where was he? Where was he during the campaign? Was he there campaigning for Kent? No. Now, do we know Donald Trump was there for Kent? Trump did support Kent. We do know that. But was he there physically? We don't know. But at the end of the day, and let me not forget Maya Flores. Maya Flores turned out to be a fluke. And she was very angry about it. You know, she said, if there's not a red wave, you got no one to blame but yourself. You didn't show up. You didn't do your damn job. I can't argue with her. Now, as it stands, it looks like we're going to get the House. Not by much, but we're going to get the House. The Senate's a different story. Right now, we're one up. And of course, you have the Walker versus Warlock runoff in December, which of course, if Warlock were to win it, it's a dead tie. Still, that puts Kamala Harris, knee pads herself, as the deciding vote. So, you guys got to get out there in Georgia and make sure that Walker wins it. But as far as everything else, Here's who you blame. You blame the GOP. You blame the swamp. You blame McConnell, McCarthy, and Eye Patch McCain. You blame the three knuckleheads, along with others who fought good people. They fought them over. These are good people who should have deserved at least a better than average chance of winning had you just poured the money into the campaign like they needed to, like Trump asked you to. And there you go. I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more just like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.